Okay, so now we have Doug Foresta. And Doug is like amazing at podcasting. He's a coach and he helps people with developing their podcast. He's helping us develop our podcasts, and I can't recommend him highly enough. So, Doug?
Thank you. By show of hands, how many of you would like more visibility? How many of you would like more media opportunities? All right. How many of you would like to reach more readers? All right. So what I'm gonna share with you today, I kind of see myself as an evangelist of podcasting, because one of the things that I believe is that every author should consider having a podcast. Actually, I believe every author should have a podcast. But I'm going to give you, what I'm going to tell you is that a podcast alone, taking a podcast and putting it on your website, is not going to be enough. So I'm going to share with you a couple of things to do that really make a difference. And this is in my experience of working with my friend Devorah Lansky. We've helped over 1,500 authors in the last year and a half to reach more readers through podcasting. And I'll share that with you. But first, Marilyn shared her story of her first grade experience. I'm going to share with you my kindergarten experience. And it's my formative drive. People are like, why do you do what you do? So the year was 1978, and it was probably about this tall. And my teacher, we had this, it was Bunny's Big Day. I'll never forget this. We had to put together the story. And it was Bunny's Big Day. And what you had to do, do you remember these, where you had to take these pictures and cut them out, and then you put them together in a story? Like you'd put them together. So you'd put them together in a story, and so I put them together, and then I drew a couple extra ones, and I put them in myself. And I gave it in, and so my teacher said, this is wrong. I said, no, it's right, it's my story, here it is. And she goes, no, it's wrong. And so as is very, very smart thing to do, which is to argue with a 5-year-old, we start getting into a conversation, and so she brings me over, she goes, no, it's wrong. And so she goes over to the answer books. You remember these? I don't know if they still have them, but the teachers had, like, you know, the book with the answers. So she brings me over to her desk. I still remember this. She opens it up and she shows it to me, and she goes, it's wrong. I said, I don't care what that stupid book says. This is my story. You're going to tell me it's wrong? It's my story and it's right. She said, why can't you just be quiet? So that's worked really well. So my passion now is helping authors share their story and be able to share their voice, and that's really my passion. I wanted to share with you a little bit of, so for myself, I started podcasting in 2009. I've been doing it for about 6 years. I've interviewed almost 1,000 people at this point, New York Times bestselling authors, Academy Award winners, and like I said, I've helped many, many people. So let me tell you that, first of all, I believe that podcasting is one of the most powerful things that authors can do to extend the value of their book. That one of the things we've heard today, we've heard a lot today, many of the things I heard today, actually, Rick was talking about, for example, having audio, right, on your website. And podcasting can be that audio. The other thing is you've heard about the idea of putting a bonus in your book. I really recommend that as well. You can create a podcast series that goes along with your book. First of all, is there anybody here who doesn't know what a podcast is? Before I go on, is there anybody who's not sure? It's okay to raise your hand. So, yes. All right, so let me just say, a podcast, and I'm talking about audio podcasting, although I do help people with video podcasting as well. But right now I'm talking about audio podcasting. And podcast is recorded audio that, recorded audio that you can syndicate, meaning you can put it on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, and people can subscribe to it. It doesn't have to be syndicated. So for the example of a book, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas. So for the example of a book, you could create a series. Let's say you wrote a book on relationships, right? You could create a series of short podcasts that go beyond what you've shared in the book, right? And at the same time, people get to hear your voice. So it creates a deeper connection. So you can create a podcast as a bonus series. But one of the big things about podcasting that I really want to get across is sometimes people will say to me, I did a podcast that didn't work. And that reminds me a little bit of people who go to the gym. And you go to the gym. You ever say, my friend, I went to the gym, I tried exercise, it doesn't work. Let me tell you, the whole thing is just, it's a joke. It's a scam. I got on the treadmill, I did the whole thing, I went to the Cheesecake Factory afterwards, it doesn't work. Just take it from me. So one of the things that with podcasting is you've got to also have a strategy. It's not enough to just record some audio, put it up on your website. Part of what I do is, do interviews, and this also really helps because I will interview other people that have podcasts. I will interview radio hosts. I'll interview media people. And then by doing that, it then gives me an opportunity. It gives me a door in, and it opens up opportunities for you. I mean, so many opportunities that for one of my clients, she didn't even release her podcast yet. It's called Vital Presence by Sally Fox, if you want to look it up. And so she was doing her first podcast, and like I said, she hadn't even released it yet. And she was talking to, she does training in leadership. She was talking to the first host, first guest, and he said, by the way, what do you do? And she started talking about it. This is one of the things I recommend is get to know the people strategically. Who are you inviting on to interview? And at the end of the interview, he said, tell me a little bit more about you. Well, anyway, by the end of it, she said, this is what I do. He goes, oh my God, would you like to come work in India for 3 months? She ended up, one of her goals in life was to work in India and to do leadership work in India. So she didn't even launch her podcast yet, and she's already doing work in India. That's the kind of thing that's possible with podcasting. But what I say to you is it's not enough. It's like anything else. If you build it, they will come. Like if you build it, they will not come, right? So if you just create a podcast and you slap it on your website, no, that's not going to help. But I can tell you that a podcast can take you to so many places. It can open up doors, and when people hear your voice, there's something really powerful as an author about the power of our voice. So I'm going to leave you with a quick story, though, about you talk about never know who you're going to impact, and I really believe this. About a year ago, I was at a Barnes & Noble's with my son, who's now 10, and we were getting ready to leave. He was playing with Legos. I said, all right, come on, Sam, we got to go. And he threw himself on the ground and starts rolling because he just wants to give me a hard time. And so this guy's walking by, and he sees my son, and he jokes. He goes, hey, kid, what are you doing? And then he looks up, and he sees me, and he goes, oh, my God. He goes, you're Doug Foresta, like he's seen Tom Cruise. And I said, yes. And he goes, you're the guy with the podcast, and you left that job, and then and he was telling me my whole life story. And I said, no, I know, I was there, And he was just starstruck. I mean, he was like, And so he says, oh, turns out he's a pastor who lives in Rhode Island. And he said, I listen to your podcast all the time. And he says, you really make an impact in my life. I really enjoy listening to you. Now, I would have never known that, right? I would have never known that. I would have never known that I made this difference. And so my son finally got up, because I think he was embarrassed after a while. And he said, thank you so much. And I got his business card. We stayed in touch. As we're leaving, Sam turns to me and he goes, Daddy, are we famous? So I want to encourage you that you can, a podcast is, I think every author should consider doing a podcast in some way to help shape your voice. There are ways with a podcast to follow up, to get those names, to build your email list so that you can develop a relationship. And there's so many different ways, obviously more that I can share here in this short time. But I want to say that a podcast is really a great strategy if you know how to use it to make a difference and to, and obviously to reach more readers. Viki, I wondered if I could give people a impromptu gift. I wanted to offer 3 people an impromptu gift. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'd like to offer 4 people the opportunity to be interviewed on my show, Creating Change on Empower Radio. How do you want to? We can just do it like, we can do this however we want to do it. But previous guests on the show include Dan Millman, Way the Peaceful Warrior, Thomas More, Care of the Soul, lots of other people. So what would be the best way to do it, do you think?
I want one.
Okay, I respect that. You're in.
If you want, we can have everyone that wants one stand up and you can throw the...
Let's throw the ball. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's start. All right. But we're yeah. What's that? Yeah, you said. Okay, 4 it is. Okay. There we go. Wow. All right.
This is fun.
I'm going to do the back because... Oh, sorry. All right, I got to see if I can...
They're going to have to...
Back over here. And one more. I got to go to this side. All right.
Do you have business cards you can give them?
Yes, and I'll make sure to follow up with them and give them cards too, so that we can, absolutely.
Okay,
we can make it happen.
fantastic. And we have one more.
All right.
Doug was good enough to join us in My Creative Thoughts, which is a journal that went international bestseller just not even a month ago.
Yes.
So we better have one more.
All right. And oh, nice job.
All right. Come on up and get your book.
If you caught the other ones, come see me, and I'll make sure to get your information like that.
So did you want to get what you need from them?
Yeah, let me go ahead and get exactly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Doug.